आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणामाकृतिं स्मरितेन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ते च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीतनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमं गृध्वयं निर्मशाखिशिखाप्रवालं हैरम्बवम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिग्रहं विक्रान्तिभीतशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. This is the Saṃskāra session for the 11th shloka. So, from the 11th shloka, we notice that the arguments are being put forth. I've already explained in the Bhavarta session how the Purva Pakshavada is being placed over there. So, in the Saṃskāra session, as a part of ancient wisdom, there is a methodology to present a vada. So, how do we deal with it? How do we put forth it? What are the elements that we need to consider when we make when we put forth an argument? So just like in modern scientific study also, where we have a hypothesis, then we have a statement, and then we take the experiment, and then we design the experiment. We try to validate our hypothesis based on taking some samples from a selected population, draw inference, all those things like that. We also have a methodology in the method, ancient knowledge systems. So that is called as Vada Katha. So this Vada Katha has different elements that we need to consider when we put forth one Vada. What are the importance of it? What each term means? What are the components of it? And what is the order of it? All this is given. So in these three verses, we will be looking at those elements of the ancient style of putting forth, framing an argument. So the first two parts of the Vada Katha is Pramana Bala Vichara. Pramana Bala Vichara. So first, when I put forth a hypothesis, what happens? I have to give preliminary evidence. I have to give preliminary evidence, and this preliminary evidence is the reason why I have concluded, or rather, I have put forth a certain hypothesis. Like, for example, when there is the Newtonian laws of physics about gravity, the reason why the story is that an apple fell on his head, and then that started making him ponder why things always fall down when they are left in the air. And that led to the discovery of a force that we call as gravity. So there he tried to experiment. The initiation is there. The apple gave him the idea. Then he experimented further for preliminary evidence. So at that point of time, anything that he dropped, it would all fall down. Therefore, pramana bala vichara. Here, he's the intention is to give that preliminary evidence that supports our hypothesis. So, whatever that we want to siddhi or achieve, whatever that we want to achieve, whatever is the hypothesis that I'm saying, that I'm mentioning, for that purpose, it has not been proven yet. No, it has not been proven yet. We have not yet reached the evidence phase. We are only giving a reason why we are considering this hypothesis, preliminary evidence. So, therefore, pramana bala vichara. And this pramana bala vichara is through three different pramanas. With that also we have to understand. Any kind of pramana itself, there are three kinds of pramanas that are accepted. Through these three kinds of pramanas, the vichara gets bala, strength. What are these three kinds of pramana? It is pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda rupa. Pratyaksha is what we are seeing directly and linking. Anumana is we have heard something and then we try to deduce, and then we tried the Shabda Rupa is the association of a particular word to a particular phenomenon. So these three are the three pramanas. So these are sarvasadhanakarini for anything and everything. These three pramanas give the bala to that vichara. So we need to have, taking the modern, the popular example itself, the pramana of pratyaksha is seen by Newton when anything falls down. He notices the connection that whatever is put in the air, it always falls down. I throw something in the air, it always comes down. So this coming down is the pramana that there is some force. There is some force, some attraction, not even force, some attraction. Then when we look at Anumana, then the Anumana phase will be, okay, there is some attraction, but who is attracting whom? So then we need to understand it is not the earth that is moving towards the object, it is the objects that is thrown in the air that is coming towards the earth. Therefore, we have to bring about this Anumana that heavier objects or objects with greater mass have greater attraction power. If the earth was attracted by the apple, the earth would go towards the apple, but apple comes towards the earth. So therefore, we have to deduce. This is Anumana. Shabda Rupa. Shabda Rupa is associating the words, terminologies, understanding that the bringing about, let us say, the word of gravity. What am I calling what am I calling gravity? But preliminary phase, it was attraction. Then I need to understand there are opposing forces involved, because a force is drawing that particular object, that is the apple, towards it. So there has to be some force involved. That force is now going to be called as gravity. So therefore, association of the phenomenon to the word, and that requires a little more Shabda Bodha is a little more intricate, and there is a huge part of Nyaya deals with Shabda Bodha. But preliminary understanding is that we need Bala to our Vichara, that is, that initial hypothesis requires that preliminary evidence. That preliminary evidence is to three kind of pramanas. Those three kind of pramanas are Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda Rupa. So the Shabda Rupa um, lends credibility for the consideration of a certain hypothesis. Then, what other part of the argument is, what other thing is required for a valid argument is tarka, logic. So, tarka is extremely important because we need to understand there is also something called as karya karana bhava. There are too many kind of relationships that we establish. So there is prayojana prayojaka bhava, karya karana bhava. There are so many other things that comes like this. Um, dharma dharmi bhava. So these different kinds of relationships that have been established tries to understand the nature of what the initiation is and what the end is. So because of that, we need to, so this is called as um, Pratipadya, Pratipadaka Bhava, Adhyetru, Adheya Bhavaha, then Shastra Prayojana प्रयोजनयोः साध्य साधकभाव विषयप्रयोजनयोः प्रयोज्यभाव. So like this, there are relationships set up to understand what is the initiation and what is the result. So therefore, the tarka, that is the logic that binds two things, that is the when we consider the samples, when we try to experiment it, introduce new variables, the changes that happen within that particular samples, that is noted. So there, finding out the cause and effect relationship is important, establishing that. Therefore, some kind of logic is important for us. Tarka is important for us. Now, even when we look at the modern, um, when we look at what Rama himself is saying, what is the key logic that he is saying? It is because that the karma gives rise to another karma and it leads to development of attachment. It cannot lead to detachment. Because detachment is the key to liberation, karma cannot prove to give liberation because it gives rise to more karma, and that increases attachment. And because detachment cannot be created through karma, we need to disqualify karma as a valid path of attaining liberation. So there is a certain logic involved. The tarka is involved in this. So this tarka is, it becomes very important when um, the when we have the pramanas that we have just decided. So प्रमाणनामानुग्राहकः तर्कः, नामनुग्राहकः. सो प्रमाण नाम अनुग्राहकः. Actually it is pramananam anugrahakah. Sorry, I think I split the sandhi in a different way. Sorry. Pramananam anugrahakah tarkah it is. So pramananam anugrahaka, pramananam bahuvachana. So all the three pramanas which I just mentioned. So pramananam anugrahakaha, which follows, which grahakaha is to absorb, it's to follow, is to inculcate. So pramananam anugrahakaha tarkaha. When the pramana is given, when the pratyaksha pramana is given, that is, an apple always falls down, an apple always falls down. Then finding out the conclusion from this pratyaksha to saying that there is an attraction, that is the tarka. So, pramananam anugrahakaha tarkaha. So this logic must exist through establishing relationships between different elements that is involved in the whole process of research. Therefore, in an argument, when I'm trying to frame an argument, first my hypothesis must be supported by any of the pramanas. After I do that, then I should draw relationships, logical relationships that establish what my vada is, what support my vada is. I haven't actually framed my vada yet. I should first find out all the elements that support. So drawing that conclusion, drawing that relationship, finding out what kind of relationship exists is what is going to lend towards framing a particular argument. So these are the two elements of Vada. There are more, but these are the two elements that we'll talk about in this session of Saṃskāra, that for the 11th verse. Astu. We'll conclude the session. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.